Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Brian. We're going to wrap up today with a sounds from my inbox, looking at usually some smaller bands who have gotten in contact with me and asked me to check out their music. We're going to kick it off with Fallen Letters, which we have checked out in the past. I think it was last month, couple years ago, a couple of months back. It was the end of last year. It's an alt rock slash alt metal band from India, and one of the members is a part of the community. So I think that's pretty cool seeing people gravitate towards the critical community while also being musicians and composers themselves and building their own music. I always thought that was really awesome. So let's dive into this. Last time we checked out Remain a Memory, I think is what it was called. Today we're going to be looking at Relapse. Let's see what Fallen Letters is bringing to the table today. Really hanging on to that tension at the end of the progression in the halfway point of the chorus. Yeah, there's a soft resolution there, but it also really hangs onto that tension enough that it feels cyclical, unending. I love all the echoes coming in off the guitars too. It almost feels like a canon, but done entirely with delay. Yeah, very cool. I like how the phrase "so I don't relapse" just gets quieter and quieter. Kind of feels like it gets pushed to the background, but I think a lot of it isn't the production, it's the delivery of it. You just, the voice just gives out. It does a lot of great job at characterizing this, the person that's the song is about, or, whatever. I was, oh man, that top left uh suggested video, just the thumbnail, 2 hours of metal, no vocals. Oh man. I think I was expecting a little bit more to it since it didn't feel like it was 4 minutes long. And their other one that we checked out had a heavier bridge to it to sort of counter out some of the laid back ballad elements. Because this one actually did share a lot of emotional feeling with the track we checked out last time. But we didn't get the little bit of subversion of expectation. But again, it didn't feel like 4 minutes either. We did verse, chorus, and I was ready to keep going. But yeah, so I think this hits on a lot of the things I enjoyed with Fallen Letters the first time we checked them out. And groove, melody, harmony, and really understanding how to characterize the intentions of the story within the delivery of the vocals. I love the use of dreariness in here. The atmosphere is perfect for what's going on, and it's paired well with the musical ideas. As I mentioned, there's a couple of sections in here that utilize delay. Delay is very big on this track, and I really love that one point where we had the delayed guitar where it felt like you would hear it here and then it echoes over here and then it echoes over here. And it feels like a canon, which is where multiple instruments play the same thing but delayed a bit. Row, row, row your boat is a very popular canon where after one person says row, row, row your boat, the next person comes in with row, row, row your boat, while the first person says gently down the stream, and they're singing the same thing, same notes, same words. They're just delayed 1 bar each or 2 bars. You can, however big of a delay you want. And that's sort of what happened there. And I thought that was very cool. It creates a cyclical layeredness to it all. I don't know what the lyrics are in particular, but just the concept of being trapped in this echo chamber of the self, I think is very cool to represent. And like I said, it wasn't just that one time. Delay was utilized in a lot of this track, and it sort of all leans into that direction. Um, I also enjoyed the pre-choruses. A lot of bands choose to do vocaled pre-choruses with lyrics to them, but I thought this was really nice. They sort of feel like mini bridges, even, especially the second one, I felt. And it helps break up the ABAB, which is a pretty simple structure to have for a song, and kind of gives it like, I don't know, an A little CB, A little CB kind of thing, like these little mini bridges between our two main sections, the verse and the chorus. It breaks up the monotony just a hair bit, and I think both of the pre-choruses were different, which, I mean, that's a nice little trick to put in there to create some diversity as well. Overall, though, I'm really digging this down tempo alt rock dreariness that we've gotten in both of these tracks. I'm ready for this album to come out. I'm gonna have to check it out. So let me hit some lyrics and we'll push forward with our next group. All right. So this song is about battling with one's inner darkness and sometimes wanting to give in, to relapse. But ultimately, I think by the end of the chorus, fighting against that urge to allow them to take over. And I think part of the cyclicality in the chorus that I was talking about, where there's a small resolution that allows the chorus to feel like a concise element. Oh, the chorus is over, we're into the post chorus, we're into the verse, that kind of thing. it's present enough to help contain it as its own section, but it's also just invisible enough to feel like, oh, this isn't over. This keeps going. It's cyclical. It's just over and over, and so it feeds into that feeling that the lyrics are talking about. All right. Agremorta is our next group. They're a Macedonian American duo where one person does the lyrics and the other one does the vocal. Sorry. One person does lyrics and vocals, the other one does all the instruments. This is their first single from their upcoming debut EP, and it's listed as the climax of the EP. So it'll be really interesting once that album comes out to see how they get to here from the beginning of it. Let's dive in and check out the song Adrocitus. Very cool bouncing back and forth on that. Absolutely filthy harsh. Yeah, I love those background vocals. The spatial playfulness is really nice too. Yeah, layering up those vocals too. I really like that. A power that enthralls, but something here feels wrong right as we completely shift the song. It's about a moment of being introspective and noticing something's a bit off and becoming hyper vigilant about your surroundings. And so the music gets recontextualized too.
Close my eyes, don't want them. My ambition
Love the varying levels of intensity as well. We had a faster rhythm, a medium rhythm, and a much slower rhythm. And the layering of that felt really nice in that last section. Yeah. Well done guitar solo, great pacing. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So, are the harsh vocals supposed to be an internal monologue? Different sides of oneself? Because I found them to be particularly blamey there at the end in a way that might seem familiar to people who battle things like depression, bipolar, stuff like that. It never really clicked earlier, but like that ending right there, especially with the voices being pushed out to the sides, coming at the listener from both angles, different types of harshes, and how they're very clearly different along the same lines. Lyrically, anyways, the end was, I'm a terrible person. I've done some crazy stuff, and I'm gonna launch myself into the sun. I'm gonna get myself away from. There was a her, right? A she. Someone in particular, though. Keep my distance from them. And there's the self blame in there. But then there's the other voices that come in specifically say, yeah, you're terrible, bro. Why'd you do all that? And like, yeah, I wonder if that's what it's supposed to represent. And it makes me want to go back and listen to it again with that perspective and see if that read is still accurate of the other times the harsh vocals come in. I'm sold on this though. I really love the chorus. It is somehow catchy and just like super sick and groovy at the same time. But I love the decision to take that last syllable from the first and second sentences and hold them out over it all. The first time through, it's the me, and the second time through, I think the second time through is different every time. But the first one's always the word me. Even if the sentence is changed, it always ends on the word me. And then there's just like the background vocal that holds it out. We get to the second sentence, they grab the last one there, hold it out. And then, of course, we have both voices layered up for the third sentence in each phrasing of the chorus. It's so well done. I love it. The verses they have great riffage to them. They're not as vocally interesting to me. However, we do have a lot more diversity in the vocal stuff. since we could see it maybe possibly as a pre-chorus, but the end of what I think is the verse typically brings in some sort of harshes. They're layered. We have back and forths of different types of harshes, and there's a lot of playfulness with spatiality in here too. But to me, the drumming and the guitars really take the spotlight during the verse. We get some of those heavier riffs going on, and the more intricate drum work, whereas they sort of take a back seat and sort of simplify themselves down and become a bit more functional during the chorus, which makes sense because they're building out the space that the vocals need to progress the story while also layering themselves up. It's just a really great balancing act of highlighting the vocal work and the instrumental work in this track, which makes sense since it is the debut song for the band. They really want to put their best foot forward, and since it's a two-person group, highlight each person's strengths individually, show off what they can do. I also am a huge fan of the final chorus not having anything different musically, which is usually something that I'm not a big fan of, but lyrically they did bring in some new ideas, and I thought this was very clever. They recontextualized something that the listener is already familiar with new context. Well, that's what recontextualization is. They bring in new context to it, though. Something you're familiar with from a new perspective. And I thought that was very clever, especially as a way to, as I mentioned, push the story forward while I think also really lining up the themes of the lyrics here as well when we go from our final chorus into the harsh vocals in the outro. If there is one aspect I'm a bit ambivalent about, it is the bridge. I like the transition into it, the idea of having that moment of self-reflection. Oh, geez, all this power I have, it's alluring, it's tempting, but something, I think the phrase was, something doesn't feel right, something's off, something like that. And as soon as he says that, the music just shifts. And I thought that was really great. As far as harsh transitions go, this is one that works thematically for me. It's a forced perspective change lyrically and musically that just lines up in a way that clicks. However, it doesn't quite do anything that grabs me. It takes a while until we get to the guitar solo, and at this point, I felt like there was something to connect to. But as far as an atmospheric bridge goes, it was missing the oomph. I don't know what particularly it would be. It might have been a production thing. It might have just needed another layer or two, something to keep me interested. I'm not entirely sure what was missing, but it did feel a bit flat compared to the rest of the track. It really is only that first 30% of the bridge, the atmospheric slow buildup. I understand what you're going for. It's designed to be an introspective part, as we just mentioned that in the lyrics, this doesn't feel right. It's that forced perspective change. And I believe it's supposed to be a moment of reflection, but aside from just the sheer music shift, I don't really get a reflective element in the music, and from a purely compositional standpoint, I do think it's a little lacking. Maybe it just needs another layer, maybe needs a punch up in the EQ on something to give it something for me to latch on to. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure what's missing there, but there was about 30 seconds that I was just waiting for the next thing to happen. And maybe that's the intended reaction too. The purpose of that is to feel anxious about the future. I don't know. But it's a 30 seconds out of a 6-minute song. Everything else in here was fantastic. I'm looking forward to this EP. I don't know when it comes out. For some reason, my head says February. Maybe I saw that in the email. But there's nothing in the description here that says February, so I maybe that was a different band. I don't know. There's a lot of good 2024 releases coming out in the first quarter here, and I was just looking at a release list, so maybe I'm getting some wires crossed. I'm gonna check out the full set of lyrics here, as I only paid attention to a few during the video, and we'll discuss that. Alright, and lyrically, that is pretty much what it's about, what I sort of guessed at. Somebody who is feeling out of control of their life. They don't have a say in how it goes. They want a little bit more direction. And so something allows them to do that. Maybe something from within, maybe something they find that begins to transform them as they hold on to it. But there is this idea that our main character gains power and eventually comes to a point where there's one line in here that says, killing for love, living for love, nothing is right, nothing is wrong, we'll never regret what's coming. The second half of that is in quotations, making me think it's one of those harsh voices coming through, where the other part is more of the mindset of our main character, in that they have this power, they're going to utilize it, whether it's for, well, actually primarily in the name of love. It's the person from the chorus, you won't forget me. You'll see us come into our own. This idea that now that they feel that they have this power, this ability to take control over their life, that they can prove their worth to this other person. But by the end of the track, it says, just forget about me. I've revealed who I am, and it's nobody that you should be around. That kind of deal. It's about the destructive corruption of power. Alright. Moving on, we have Hauntology. Now, this isn't really a new band in that it's unknown people creating their first music for the first time. The drummer for this group is from Umgwa, and the guitarist is from Owls, Woods, Graves. It's a sort of supergroup, if you will. This guitarist has also been a touring member of Umgwa before, so I'm sure that's where the two people know each other from. Says the song is, and I quote, deeply rooted in negative metal music. It leans towards other genres and forms of expression to seek musical analogies of sleepless nights and surreal, anxiety-provoking hallucinations. So more music I'm probably not going to enjoy, but it says there's more inspirations outside of black metal. I'm intrigued by it. Let's dive into the track Ozymandian. What? I was not expecting a groovy idea. am a fan of all of the distinct timbres in here. It's not just bass guitar and a drum kit. They don't pop up often, but when they do, it's an interesting idea. I mean, as usual, I'm a fan of Dark Side cymbal work. I do like these vocals though. They're more death metal than black metal. So we moved to a 6, but there's also a really interesting inflection at the beginning of the phrase, which makes it feel like it's just a hair shorter than the 6. And the cymbal work we had in the last phrase was based off of a 5-beat rhythm in the same length. So playing around with polyrhythm too. So like that right there, it sounded like that's all guitar, man. Maybe that's what it is. It's extra guitar layers that are syncing up with some of the drum work. Yeah, I can't say I have a lot of thoughts on this. It is... There's definitely a black metal element to it. We have tremolo picking, we have 16th note picking, we have 16th note snare and bass, blast beats, double bass kicks, a real rigidity to the rhythmic element of this song in a lot of places. These sections tend to get rhythmically diverse with cymbal work, which is Darkside's, as far as I'm concerned, signature type of black metal drumming, where he creates the wall of sound rhythmically with the constant 16th notes and then puts a groovy idea, usually a faster one still, but a groovy idea on the cymbals to create an element of juxtaposition and rhythmic syncopation against the rigidity of the straight 16th notes. It's the same thing I praised his drumming for in Umgua's Exercises in Futility, and I mean, it's the same thing I'm going to praise this song for. It is easily my favorite part, and as far as black metal goes, I could listen to this dude drum all day. Which is, it's high praise for black metal music, which is just totally not my jam. Um, but I do feel like I need to praise the guitarist a bit too. There's a lot of layers that go on in here, and it creates some really interesting harmonic ideas in these situations. But there's also some interesting timbre layering where a new guitar tone will come in and a new pitch, and it's going to line up with some things that the drums are doing specifically in one of their instruments, one of the things that they're hitting. And it happens with almost 100% consistency that when this guitar line plays, that same rhythm is paired with something in the drums, and it comes together and merges into a unique timbre to my ears. I thought I heard all sorts of instruments in here, but every time I went to listen back, I'm like, what was that? I'll hear the same line, but I'll very clearly hear the distinction between the two instruments. And it makes me think that a lot of the unique sounds I was hearing weren't actually there. It was just the way my brain was interpreting the layering that they had going on. I thought I heard violins at one point. I don't think there's any violins in here. Towards the end, I heard these really tall vertical bells that you would hit with a mallet. And yeah, I heard it once. And the next time that it came around where I was expecting it in the phrase, it wasn't. But the exact same pitch was being given to me from the guitars. And I noticed that the rhythmic component, not the rhythmic, the attack, the sound of how the note starts was found in the drums. So I gave the song praise for timbre diversity. I'm not 100% sure that that's accurate. I want to go back and listen to it, possibly with my speakers instead of headphones. Crank the volume up just a little bit more and really dive into some of the timbre choices, specifically the guitar tones and the different sounds that the drummer is using off of their kit, and see if I hear anything that's not a guitar and drum in that context. Regardless, whether they used other instruments or not, there still is a type of variety in here, even if it comes from their timbre layering of how and when they change guitar tones for layering purposes and how that plays off of what the drummer's doing in creating what sounds to me at times as new auxiliary percussion instruments. There is also a groovier metal side to this song where they sort of slow things down a little bit and get away from more of the rhythmic rigidity and explore some groovier ideas. They happen infrequently, but often enough for it to be a core element of the track. I I appreciate the diversity. It's still not a sound I'm a huge fan of, but it's better than having straight black metal all the time for the entirety of the song. That tends to grate on me just a little bit. And I'm also a fan of the vocals here, much more than traditional black metal vocals. I don't know how often black metal bands will utilize vocals like these, but they just aren't what I typically think of. And all of it's brought together with a clarity of composition. It's still gritty, it's still raw, it's not clean, but it's clear. I can hear everything, which I think Umgwa also did. So that's not really, again, a point for this group specifically, as more of a holdover of the type of music they make and have made in the past. I don't know that Hauntology is a group that I'm going to be actively keeping on my radar, but if they pop up suggested by the community or a theme poll or special selection or something, I'll be interested enough to see what they're doing with their next works. Let's look at some lyrics. I just realized these lyrics are probably going to be pretty dark. Lyrically, the song is, I'll be honest, a bit outside my grasp. However, there is the chorus, which is rather plain and clearly written, and I love the last line of it. It says, "But what's the cold, ghostly breath sowing shivers into my neck? It was a lie right from the start. Utopias dreamt while sleeping in the open grave." I really like that final line. Utopias dreamt while sleeping in the open grave. It's not just about how good life could be in your dreams, in your mind, is the way you envision it, but it's that you don't even have an opportunity to enact them. You don't have an opportunity to take action with your thoughts. You sleep in the open grave. You have one foot in already. There's no opportunity for these dreams to become reality. Now, as for the choruses, I'm not quite sure what any of them speak about. They could all be separate, different dreams that our narrator is having. The first is about a rapid decline of the future. Vultures circle him, but they will starve, for he is incorruptible. However, the positivity of that is met with the chorus. It's just a utopia I dream about. The second talks about an inner strength that will never fall. Again, though, met by the chorus singing about utopias dreamt while sleeping. I'm curious if that's what it is about then. Not quite the pure nihilism that we experienced on their Exercises in Futility album, but certainly looking at a more negative element of life. And there is a bit of futility to this entire thing. Even if it doesn't lean into full-on nihilism, it still basically says anything positive out of life, it's stuck to the realm of dream. Alright, we're going to wrap this video up with our final band today called Gradience. Now this is interesting. I've been looking forward to this since I saw the email, primarily because I don't know what to make of it, and I really love genre mashups that I'm like, I could see how that works, but like, what are they gonna do with it? Because it doesn't really work in my mind. It's a Denmark duo, blackened rap metal. This is their debut single. The group is called Gradience. The track is called The Abyss. Half of this duo is a fellow YouTuber, and they produce music videos. They're called Cold North Creative. If you're interested in that, everybody's links will be in the description. If you're interested in that, you can go check it out. They have worked with bands like Cabal and Soilwork in the past, so that's pretty awesome. Let's dive into this blackened metal rap. Let's just go. I don't have an intro for this. Let's just explore what they're doing.
I swear you ain't see shit. My origin foiling, so I spoke what good it called it quits. And now, less shady, prone to fucking splits. Maybe I'm the reason demons dwell in this abyss.
Okay.
I'm somewhere cold, shadow grace my soul. Yeah, I thought I made it clear. You still enticing, override my system jammed, I swear the madness. Yeah, I'm quite alright, cause wreaking havoc been a habit being done out of spite. I thought I made a point. You still discussing, making fuss, and I don't know what's up. And now, more jaded, less in tune with this. Maybe I'm the reason demons dwell in this abyss. I'm not in tune, fucking neither are you. So why you I'm somewhere cold, shadow grace my soul.
So now we're bringing in some groove under the vocals, the harsh vocals.
I'm just another device tonight. Yeah, and I ain't even a part of the lie. I let you pick all the parts decide. Yeah, I know you scrap it, I'll play my divine.
And a breakdown. Interesting. Okay, so I want to bring this up just real quick. The reason I didn't know what to expect of this is because both genres require different elements to them, at least traditional. If we look at a majority of hip hop and we look at a majority of black metal, and we kind of find the elements that are most common to them. Hip hop tends to be a bit minimalistic on sounds as far as how much space the instruments take up, and they tend to be heavier on groove. It allows a rhythm to be created that typically has a little bit of syncopation in it and allows the vocalist's flow to not only work within the more straightforward elements but also play off of the syncopation and create their own to create rhythmic density. Black metal is the opposite of that on pretty much every level. It is wall of sound. Instruments take up so much space that it usually blots out the vocal performance, which gets tucked into the mix in a lot of black metal, and it is rhythmically static and rigid. There isn't any syncopation to it at all. And so when I heard the two of these, I was like, that's not gonna work. I mean, it can. There's so many combinations we've explored on this channel, and I'm just like, nope. And then I listen to it, and I'm like, oh, actually, yeah. I don't know how they did it, but it works. And this is one of those ones I was coming in a bit skeptical about. On paper, they're just so diverse. And of course, we come in with a sparse instrumental part with syncopated rhythm and the vocals on top, more of a hip hop approach to it. And then we go to the black metal wall of sound and the harsh vocals, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna jump back and forth between the two of these styles. That's that's fine. That works. And then they tricked me. They put the rapping on top of the black metal work. Now, granted, this was for a small component of it, usually just the back half of the chorus. So we really only hear the wall of sound 16th note attacks from the band and rapping on top of it for a collective like 25 seconds of this track. It's very short. A majority of the rapping is done on top of lighter hip hop style music. But I think this is a proof of concept to show that it works. Because here's the thing, The rigidity of the black metal creates a foundation for the hip hop to work against. The syncopation of the rapping can play off of the rigidity of the 16th note attacks. I don't think it is something that will be infinitely explorable. I think you're really going to have to change up the flow in a lot of tracks to make them feel different, or different enough, I should say. But black metal fans have been listening to third wave style black metal for such a long time, and it all kind of sounds the same to me. So maybe small nuances will be enough to diversify the tracks on this for the intended audience. Maybe even for someone like me who is not too enthused about the black metal sound in general. I don't know. Well, just like I was surprised with the combination because I couldn't imagine it, it's possible that they'll surprise me with some sort of contrast between tracks, and I may end up enjoying the album more so than I think because I simply can't imagine how they would go about doing it. That doesn't mean it's impossible, it just means my imagination is limited regarding this specific topic. So I do think this is a band I'm going to keep my eye on for that element specifically. Now, when we explore the two sides individually, I think they're fine. When we look at the harsh vocals on top of the wall of sound, it feels like black metal. I think they nailed the sound. There's nothing in there that I think stands out to me. It's very iterative, which is perfectly okay. I've defended iterative music in the past a lot. We need that. If everybody was experimenting, first of all, we wouldn't actually get to find and razor hone some of these experimental sounds into the greatness that they can be. Experimenting constantly means everything's just a bit raw and unexplored. It hasn't been perfected yet. Um, but also, it would just be boring if everything was always new. I don't know. It'd become the status quo. People who only play the same. You know what it would be like? Post punk. Post punk was fresh and new because they were bucking all the trends and making hyper minimal music. So, yeah, that would become the new big deal if everybody was experimenting. Like static nature would be like the cool thing. And when we look at the hip hop, I don't know how we got on that topic. When we look at the hip hop sections, I think the beats themselves are well done. The vocals are well done. The flow is great against the beat. Everything about it works well. It's not my type of rapping. I tend to prefer something a little more technical. And what's the word I want? I don't know. It's not necessarily dynamic because I think this person has a good range of flow, and there were a couple different rhythmic styles they went through. So it's not like it was. It's not like it was lacking dynamics. I guess just technical. That really fast type of rapping is always going to be impressive to me. Just easy to please. You show me something that sounds difficult, and I'd be like, that was pretty cool. But there's nothing wrong with this rapping style either. I don't want to put it down. And I'm certainly not somebody who listens to enough rap that I would want to put my weight in the conversation at all. I just know what I have liked in the past and what I haven't liked regarding rappers and styles and flows and all this stuff. Um, but I do want to see how they continue to push forward. I think the most interesting aspect here is the production, primarily because the production on the rapped vocals and the hip hop instrumentation feel odd to me. They're very big and large. It feels like they just took the black metal production style, a mid-fi black metal production style, and the main focus of making that wall of sound, of everything being big and large, and applied it to the hip hop instrumentation, and it's different. I don't want to say it's bad. I've just never heard anything like it before. As I mentioned, a lot of hip hop tends to use instrumentation that is light and out of the way so that the vocals can be the focus. And these sort of aren't that. It takes that minimalistic composition and minimalistic approach to instrumentation and sort of maximizes it a little bit in a way that is just unusual to me. Again, I don't think it's bad. It's just very different. and I think it works here. But it's definitely an acclimation period as it goes against the genre trends, which is pretty cool because in that regard, this track both explores the beaten path and does things that are iterative of a style, while also exploring new grounds on other parts of the song, which I think is necessary if you're going to start smashing genres together. You've got to have some sort of foundational ground that's built off of tropes and genre conventions so that you can experiment off of that. If you're going to experiment from the ground up, first of all, it probably isn't going to be very good. It's going to take a few passes until you reach something that is feasible to, able to work with, but it's also just going to be a ton of extra work. All right, I'm going to hit some lyrics real quick, and then, yeah, that's the last one. We'll wrap the video up. All right, there aren't any lyrics available yet, especially since this just came out the at the tail end of last week, so it's relatively new still. I went back and listened to the track. It's only 2 minutes long, and the vocals, at least the rapped parts, take up so little of that time. I'm not going to be able to tell you what the dude's screaming, so I didn't need to worry about those parts. That's just black metal vocals in a nutshell. I don't think I'll ever reach a point where I'm like, yeah, I understood what he was talking about. Death growls, I'm getting there. Hardcore vocals, I'm getting there. Black metal shrieks, nope. It's going to take some really exceptionally clear production and vocal enunciation for me to be able to understand black metal shrieks. But anyways, from the rapped parts, it seems that we have somebody who is tired of dealing with somebody else, or maybe it's just a royal general you, and they have no patience for anything anymore. They're tired of dealing with all of the arguments and all this stuff. And he says, maybe I'm the reason there's demons in this abyss. That's how both verses are ended. And it's almost as if to say that, there's so much danger around here because I'm present and because I'm tired of putting up with you. And it's interesting because it kind of merges the darkness and the satanic element of black metal with what do they call it? Hip hop's diss tracks. Kind of mixes that up and goes for I'm sick of dealing with you. These are your problems. This is what you bring to the table. I'm stressed out because you make all these poor choices and stuff. And then pairing that with like the thematic elements and darkness of black metal that it typically explores lyrically. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, I haven't listened to a lot of hip hop. Maybe hip hop deals with these types of themes more often than I expect. I know there are diss tracks out there, but I don't know that I've ever heard one thematically quite like this. So I think that's a point of mashing the two genres together, but maybe it actually isn't. Regardless, like I mentioned, this is a band I'm going to be keeping on my radar. I want to check out what they do on their album. They have an album. There's no information. I know this was their debut single, so they might be a bit of a ways off from the EP release, but I'll be looking forward to it. It's one of those things I'm intrigued by. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy the album, but I can't leave it at just this one song. I have to see how they continue to explore this interesting combination. All right, those are my thoughts on Fallen Letters, Agremorta, Hauntologist, and Gradience. Oh, I just realized we started off with some alternative rock, went towards some more prog metal stuff that took us to black metal that left us with blackened rap. It was actually a really cool chronology and increasing intensity of tracks of this. I don't do this. I don't plan any of this out. These are just the four latest emails I got in the order I got them. I don't plan any of this out. So that kind of worked really well. Although I think I would have enjoyed the reverse and softened up over time, but whatever. Um, like I said, those are my thoughts on these bands. Let me know what yours are if you enjoyed any of this, if you're going to be keeping an eye on any of these groups. Um, if there's anything you want to add to the conversation, put all that stuff down in the comments. Usually in the description box, I would put a bunch of links for my stuff, but instead, as usual, all the links will be for the groups, the artists, the bands. It'll have all of their social medias as well as their streaming platforms, so you can go out and listen to more of anything that you enjoyed. All right, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We got a couple of videos. As usual, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.